Yo, what is up, Carmination? Welcome here to NASCAR at Noon. I think we used to call it NASCAR Live, but at NASCAR at Noon just kind of drives the point home that every week you could expect to see these shining faces. NASCAR at Noon. Every Sunday noon Eastern Time, unless, of course, there's a Saturday race or maybe even a crazy late Bristol Sunday night race. Typically, more often than not, NASCAR at Noon. We have the O'Reilly Auto Parts 253, because who doesn't like a race with a bunch of random numbers after it? That doesn't make any sense. We have the NASCAR duos that we have added to the DFS Karma brand. We have Jake and Luke. Jake coming off, if you did not watch the stream we had last week for the Daytona 500, at the very end of our streams, if you guys are used to our NASCAR Live stuff, at the very end of the streams, what we have been doing is your favorite drivers to win from a betting perspective, then your favorite drivers, your favorite long shots to win. And Cheapo over here decided to shout out McDowell, who at a crazy turn of events on the final lap, pulled it through, and that was 100-1. So if you listened all the way to the very end and got that last nugget and threw in a bet on McDowell, that is a 100-1 win right there for you guys. Now, before we get into our typical fashion of going through their favorite GPP and cash plays for each of the salary tiers, just going to go through some housekeeping stuff here real quick. As you see on the screen, this is dfskarma.com. If this is your very first time ever checking us out, welcome. dfskarma.com is where you find all of the content. And then, of course, getting in our chat room is where you get the rest of it. So first things off, this is dfskarma.com. If you want access to our NASCAR content, we made it pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy for you guys. The NASCAR drop-down menu right here. It has NASCAR Final Thought, which is more or less our cheat sheet. It'll go through the actual final thoughts of, this is who I'm liking for cash, for GPPs, and it kind of looks like this right here, quick screenshot of it. And it's color-coded as well to make it easy to discern between who he likes for, GPPs or who he's liking for cash games. The other thing from the drop-down menus is the NASCAR Articles. We have an article that drops every weekend for our Cup Series. All you got to do is click on NASCAR Articles, and it'll bring you right here to this page. As you see, boom, we got a free-to-view article right there, Luke's List. That's the article for this race that is starting later today. And then lastly, the last thing from the NASCAR drop-down menu, NASCAR Core Plays. These are our experts' core plays for FanDuel, for DraftKings, and for SuperDraft. And if you want that action, it's very simple. Just click on subscriptions right here at the very top, or if you're on your mobile device, it'll be on the left drop-down menu. Click on subscriptions, scroll all the way down here, pop, NASCAR Core Plays and Props. Click on that baby, sign up, and then we'll automatically get you access to all of our premium NASCAR content. Now, if you're looking to have plays for Prize Picks and for Monkey Knife Fight, those plays are a part of this package, but those plays are found inside of our Discord premium channels. If you're not in our Discord yet, shame on you. Go to chatdfs.com, get in there for free. We offer a lot of free channels as well. Now, that housekeeping items are out the way, let's get to it. We love to do these streams. We love to make them live because it gives you guys the opportunity to ask these expert analysts questions as we go through their favorite plays. So no matter if you're watching us right now on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is, you have an opportunity to ask questions. Just type them in the comments. We'll get to them one at a time. Let me pull them up real quick here. It looks like Jacques on YouTube just said, let's get it, boys. Another day in NASCAR. Always in here every NASCAR live stream. But without further ado, let's start things off by going, if either one of you want to touch on strategy-wise. So if you guys remember from watching NASCAR Live last week, Daytona 500, because they have a different format, you want to target the guys in the back. You're leaving a lot of salary on the table. When it comes to this one here today, the O'Reilly Auto Parts 253, what kind of strategy in comparison to Daytona 500 can we be expecting? Go ahead, Jake, if you want to start this one off.
Well, looking at the pricing, you look up front, obviously Chase Elliott's the favorite for this race, but the question is he essential to play? With all these options starting at the back, with a lot of place differential, it's tough debating whether or not Chase is essential to your lineups. He can obviously lead a bunch of laps. He's won the last 4 road course races, but in terms of him being optimal, he's gonna have to do quite a bit. So to me, the first thing I would look at for today's race is whether or not Chase Elliott is going to be optimal. Personally, I don't think he will.
All right.
But you,
Now, from a salary standpoint, I know we were harping 100% over and over again on the last stream about, listen, you have to leave thousands on the salary, thousands on the table in salary, just based on how strategy works for this race. Luke, salary-wise, what can we expect to be leaving on the table, if anything, for this style of race today?
It's not definitely not the same as Daytona. You don't have to leave thousands and thousands of salary on the table. There's a lot of expensive. Honestly, you're probably gonna have to use most of your salary this week because there's a lot of top tier options that are in play, and there's not that many good value plays. So this week it's not going to be like Daytona where you're not going to be using all your salary. You're going to be using pretty much all of it this weekend.
Gotcha. All right, so let's hop right into our first part. So if you guys remember last week and then the last couple of years, what we like to do is we like to go through their favorite GPPs and cash plays for different tiers. We do high tier, mid tier, low tier, and of course, when we're referring to salary, we're technically referring to DraftKings, but they're interchangeable. If somebody likes a low tier play, and even though they're talking about it with a DraftKings salary in the back of their mind, chances are they're also a low tier play. I mean, you can ask them, of course, in the chat, but chances are that whatever they're spewing out, I like this guy because X, Y, Z, it's somewhat interchangeable between FanDuel and then maybe even SuperDraft as well. But if you have any questions specific to those sites and those contests, please just ask them in the chat. And like I said, we'll get to them one at a time here. But first things first, Jake, we'll start off with you. In the high tier salary range, who is your favorite cash play for this O'Reilly Auto Parts 253? And I'll say that title like a million times.
For me, I'll say Ryan Blaney. Blaney has had really good road course stats. He won at the Roval in 2018, the Charlotte Roval, that is. And he's starting deep. I believe he's starting, our sheet says he's starting 27th. So he's pricey, but he's safe. And I expect a top 10 from him. Penske car, should be fast. So I would say Ryan Blaney for where he's starting for a cash high expensive play.
All right, and then Luke, what about you for high tier cash play?
So I think the driver that I'll be targeting in the top tier for cash is going to be Martin Truex Jr. He's had a lot of success on the road courses and is right behind Chase when it comes to running up front. He has 3 wins, 6 top 5s, 8 top 10s, and an average finish of 7.5 over his last 10 road course races. He'll start 19th today, so he offers a decent amount of place differential and should be a threat for the win by the end of it. So I think he makes for a solid top tier option. The only problem is he's really expensive, so it's going to be hard to fit him in.
Gotcha. And then we'll just stick with you for this next spot here for your favorite GPP play, also for that top tier as well.
I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. I think a lot of people are going to be off him because, one, there's other top tier options that are starting further back, like Ryan Blaney, Truex, AJ Allmendinger, guys like that. But his road course stats haven't been that good lately. He's had a lot of bad finishes, but some of that is probably just due to bad luck. And we saw Kyle Busch, obviously, he won the Clash because Blaney and Elliott wrecked at the end, but he ran well throughout the race. So I think that he knows what he's doing and could put himself in a position to win the race. And I think he'll be very low owned, which makes him a solid top tier option for tournaments this weekend.
A question I have in regards to strategy, and either of you can answer this one. Now, the Daytona road course is not something that many of these drivers have an insane, or any of these drivers have an insane amount of track history on, because it's something that isn't a frequent part of their season-long routine as of up until late here with everything with coronavirus happening. So, do you believe there is any kind of strategy involved in? I mean, I guess you can call it like a new course on having this fresh new course infused into a DFS. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there any strategy involved with having this new course exist? Because as opposed to let's say last week when we had the traditional Daytona race, well, of course, a lot of these people have done this track, have raced this race, and we know, who's going to do well, who's not going to do well because X, Y, Z. But is there a different kind of strategy in something that's so new to the NASCAR realm?
Not necessarily. I don't really feel it's a big deal. They raced the Cup Series raced at this track last year, the Daytona Road Course. So a lot of these drivers have had laps here, and the Charlotte Roval is very comparable in terms of the layout of the track and the way you drive it. So to me, I don't really view it as a I don't really view it like you have to play any differently. And the Cup drivers have adapted well, really, without having any practice for the past year. So it doesn't really concern me that much from a DFS standpoint.
All right, then sticking with you, Jake, what is your favorite GPP for that top tier range?
For the top tier range, honestly, I got to say Blaney again. Ryan Blaney starting from 27th. I mean,
This
I
is like
totally
Busher all over again, man.
I'm
Who's your favorite mid-tier cash play? Blaney.
Blaney,
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I start in a Penske car. He's just really safe for both cash and also GPP. I expect a top 10. It's a fast car. It's Team Penske. Ryan Blaney has won at road courses before. He won at the Roval in 2018, like I said. So to me, Blaney is a good play for his. Even though he's expensive, I see him making value pretty easily. So.
All right, so going to Luke here for your favorite mid-tier cash play. But before you say that, what are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on Blaney? If he's so gung-ho about cash and GBP playable, what are your thoughts on Blaney? I'm just curious.
I mean, he's a really good option. He's starting 27th. He's been great at the road courses. He offers a lot of place differential. I just think that Truex is more likely to win and offers. I mean, it's not as much place differential, but I think Truex can score dominator points, and I don't know if Blaney has the potential to do that. So that's.
I don't see Blaney winning the race unless there's some chaos on the last lap. Like the 2018 with Martin and Jimmy getting into each other. But I see Blaney finishing up front. I see a top 5. I totally expect. So.
All right, we'll go ahead and finish things off, Luke, with your cash mid-tier play.
Okay, so I'm gonna go because he's 9,000, so I don't know if it's mid-tier or not, but I mean people are gonna want to know. But Alex Bowman, he's $9,000. He's been pretty solid at the road courses. He has 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, an average finish of 9.6 over his 8 Cup starts at the road courses. He's starting 36, so he offers a ton of place differential, and it's pretty hard to fade a guy like that in cash games, in my opinion. So I think he makes for a solid cash option in the mid-tier.
All right. I'm afraid to ask Jake, who's your favorite mid-tier, and is his name Blaney?
No, it's not Blaney. My favorite from the mid-tier for cash is Eric Jones. Eric he starts really deep. He starts, I believe, 35th it is. But what I like about him is just looking at his road course history. Top 10 very consistently. He's had a few DNFs, a few poor finishes in there, but overall, he's just really a good road course racer. The only concern with him is he's not in as good of a car this year. He's in the 43 Richard Petty Motorsports, which isn't a terrible car, I don't think. And I think that Jones's talent behind the wheel can kind of overcome that equipment deficit. But if there is any concern with him, it would just be that he's not in the JGR car anymore. But starting from there, he can't kill you. In playing cash, Eric Jones, to me, lock. So that's what I would say for the mid-tier.
All right, and going to Luke for the mid-tier GPP. Before you answer that, question I had is, in case anybody hasn't even started looking at lineups because they just wait till the very end to start plugging things in, and with our core plays and all of our other premium content, what exactly, remind everyone what the lock is for this particular race today.
It's hard to really say anyone's a lock for NASCAR DFS.
No. Sorry, the lock, like the contest lock, like DraftKings lock.
Oh, okay. The lock I think is at 218. So
yeah, it's very specific.
So on top of having this random 253 for the race name, we have a 218 lock time. All right.
Yeah.
And is that Eastern time or?
That's Central. Yeah. 318 Eastern.
Okay, 3:18 Eastern time. So you guys, by the time this is over, you guys are gonna have at least 2 hours to rewatch everything if you miss any parts or if you're bouncing in and out. All right, what is your GPP for the mid tier?
I'm gonna go with William Byron. He's starting 22nd, so he offers a decent amount of place differential. He's in a good car with Hendrick. He's found a lot of success as of late at the road courses. His last 3 finishes are 6th, 8th, and 6th. So if he can gain a bunch of spots and potentially finish, 6th to 10th, I think he makes for a solid option. And I think he'll be lower owned than Bowman. So I definitely understand pivoting off of Bowman to Byron in tournaments to gain some leverage.
Okay. And then finishing off that mid-tier spot, what are we liking, Jake, for the GPP side of things?
I'm liking Tyler Reddick. Reddick starts in 24th. He doesn't have too much Cup Series road course experience, but he's put up some solid numbers in the Xfinity Series on the road courses. And looking at some of the other people who are down there, I just like Reddick over them based on where he's starting and the equipment he's in and the potential there. So I could see Reddick I could see people kind of sleeping on him a bit. I think he'll have some ownership, but not necessarily too much. And I think he could get a top 10 in that class. So we'll have to see what Reddick can do. And also, he had a pretty strong run in the Clash as well. So we'll have to see what happens there. But I think he has a good shot at a potential top 15, top 10.
All right, before we finish things off with the low-tier cheapo range, remember, guys, this is a live stream. You are watching this live. These guys are live. This is not pre-recorded or anything. If you do have questions for Jake, Luke, or myself, or just anything in general, just throw those into the chat. No matter where you're watching this right now, just if you have to log into, I don't know. If there's a situation where you have to log in to create a comment, then just log in real quick, ask us a question, and we'll get to one at a time. But since we only have maybe a few more minutes left here, make sure you get those questions in ASAP if you want something answered live on stream. Otherwise, you just have to go to our chat rooms to ask them in there. But now the cheapo range, this was definitely a huge targeted range with the strategy we had last week with the Daytona 500, how everything works with that. But for this one, Luke, who is your favorite low-tier cheapo cash play?
For the low tier, I'm going to probably go with Ty Dillon. He's not in the 13 anymore. He's driving the 96 car for Gaunt Brothers Racing. He's been fine at the road courses. He finished 23rd and 20th at the 2 races last season. He's starting 38th today, so he can't really hurt you starting that far back. And I think he's a pretty safe bet for a top 30 and could potentially finish inside the top 25. So I think he's a very safe option for cash games this weekend, and I'll probably have a decent amount of exposure to him in tournaments as well.
All right, Jake, what's your favorite cash cheapo?
I really like Daniel Suarez. Driving for a new team, Team Trackhouse, starting from 35th. Trackhouse has an RCR Alliance, so that should be a pretty fast car. I prefer him over Ty Dillon. I think a lot of people are going to be on Ty. I prefer Suarez. He's made a lot of the lineups that I've made so far. But for sure, if you're going to go down there into that range, those are the two you should be looking at, either Daniel Suarez or Ty Dillon, based on where they're starting and the price.
All right, we have Jacques on YouTube says, what do y'all think about AJ? I don't know if, Jacques, if you have a particular site and or contest type, but I guess in general, while you kind of clear up that question, if anybody has any general thoughts on AJ today.
Well, he's priced high, but he starts deep. But the concern is we just don't know how fast Colleague is going to be. This is the Xfinity team, Colleague Racing. They're fielding the car for him. They do have an RCR Alliance, so I'm sure it's not going to be, I'm sure AJ will drive through the field from the start of the race, but we don't know how high the potential is for him to get a top 10, a top 15. We just don't know how that equipment's going to run. So we're just going to have to see. I think people are going to hype him, but I would be cautious playing AJ Allmendinger compared to some of the other options up there, like Ryan Blaney, just safer options, Martin Truex. So personally, I wouldn't go crazy on AJ Allmendinger. Have some exposure, but don't go too nuts.
All right, and then let's finish off the traditional style of the cash and GPP spot by finishing off with the cheapos GPP punts. Jake, just sticking with you here. Who's your favorite GPP, and what would you guess in a standard GPP, or even like the biggest GPP, the main one, what his ownership would be? So your favorite GPP play for the cheapo side, and your just guess of what you can expect his ownership to be.
Well, you're going to laugh at me, but Daniel Suarez, based on where he's starting and the equipment, and he's had some strong runs at road courses before, I think he will have ownership, decent ownership. But like I said, I think Ty Dillon, people are going to be much more heavy on Ty Dillon than Daniel Suarez. So I like Daniel Suarez a lot from where he's starting. I think a top 20 is definitely doable, which would get the job done, and potential top 15. So we'll have to see. Trackhouse is a new team. We don't know too much about how they're going to perform, but these road courses are more so driver tracks than equipment tracks. And Daniel Suarez has proven to be a decent road course racer. So I think he could get a decent finish in that Trackhouse car. So.
All right. Luke, favorite cheapo, and why is it not Daniel Suarez?
All right. Well, I know a lot of you guys are scared of playing him because he likes to wreck a lot. But I'm gonna go with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's starting 16th, so obviously not as far back as we would hope. But he consistently has finished 15th to 20th at the road course races, which means that he can put himself in a position to potentially finish inside the top 10 if there's, like a late race restart or something crazy at the end happens. He's only 6,100, which is pretty cheap for a guy like Stenhouse. There's not a ton of great value options, and I think Stenhouse could go overlooked compared to some of the other guys like Suarez and Ty Dillon. So I think Stenhouse is a fine tournament option. Obviously, I'm not going to go like all in, but I would definitely have a couple shares of them.
Jacques on YouTube says, I hate Recky. Good old Recky Stenhouse. So that kind of wraps up the DFS side of things. We're going to finish off here now, but going back and forth to their favorite driver to win and then their favorite long shot to win. And like I said, last week we got a 100-1 win here from Jake with the McDowell play. But these live streams, we like to do them at noon, especially when there's like a 2 p.m. or a 3 p.m. Eastern time lock, because it makes them easily replayable. I mean, right now you can rewind and fast forward while it is still live, but if you just want to listen to the end while it is live, get your questions in, and then go back if you just jumped in the middle of this or towards the end of it, rewind, fast forward, do whatever you want to. You have plenty of time. There's still a good roughly 3 hours left to lock, just to kind of play around with the YouTube video and get all the spicy intel. But without further ado, Jake, the driver that you believe will win, and then go ahead and just double up by saying who the least favorite driver you think will win. So go ahead and give both your plays at the same time.
Well, I hate to be boring, but I totally see Chase Elliott getting it done today. He's won the last 4 road course races in a row. He almost won the Clash at the Daytona road course 2 weeks ago. So it's tough to bet against Chase Elliott. With the amount of laps he's led at these tracks, where he usually runs, he's always in the top 5 at minimum, it seems. So to me, Chase Elliott is your most likely winner. For a sleeper for winning this race, Matt DiBenedetto, really good road racer, starting 32nd in the Wood Brothers racing car, which is affiliate to Team Penske. DiBenedetto's had some strong results at road courses in the past. So I think DiBenedetto, if you put him up there on a late race restart, in the top 10, top 5, I think he could get it done if everything goes right. So I would say Matt DiBenedetto is definitely a sleeper to win this race.
All right, so I just pulled up DraftKings Sports real quick. So Chase Elliott, of course, is the favorite at 2-1 odds, and then DiBenedetto, I believe, is 66-1. Let me go back and check that again. Yeah, 66-1.
That's definitely, with those odds, I would definitely bet on DiBenedetto. He should be lower than that. So
can you imagine if you hit back-to-back? Your first 2 streams of DFS Karma, you hit back-to-back long shots. People, man, we're gonna have like 6 million people watching next week. So we have a 2-1. He likes the favorite to win just in general, but if he picks a long shot, he likes Matt DiBenedetto, which is a 66-1 right now using DraftKings Sportsbook odds. Moving on, wrapping up the stream. Luke, favorite to win, favorite long shot to win.
I mean, it's hard not to like Chase, but I'm not gonna go with Chase. I'm gonna go with Martin Truex Jr. I mentioned him earlier. He's right there with Chase when it comes to the road courses. He has 3 wins for a reason over his last 10 starts. He's starting 19th. He should be able to work his way up pretty quickly. I think it's either going to be Chase or Truex for the win, but I'm just going to go with Truex just because I think he's due for a win, and Chase's streak's going to end eventually, right? And then for my sleeper pick, I'm going to go with William Byron. He's put himself in a position multiple times, finishing inside the top 10 in his last 3 road courses. I think if there's like a late race restart or pit stops at the end, I think if you put him near the front, I think if things get crazy, he could be the guy that pulls through and gets the win for today's race.
All right, so once again, based on DraftKings Sportsbook odds, we have Martin with a 4.5-1. He's the second favorite to win behind Chase Elliott, and then Byron is down there at 22-1. Not as spicy as a 66-1 or 100-1 win like we had last week, but 22-1 is his long shot. We do have a question here from YouTube before we wrap things up from Jeffrey. Uh, it's just there's not much context to it. I guess he wants to know your thoughts on Scott Heckert.
Well, Scott Heckert, he has road course experience. He has a road racing background, but starting from 26th in that equipment, I mean, the Rick Ware car. Actually, it's not a Rick Ware car. It's McLeod's team with Mass Motorsports, but they're more so a back market team. He could finish around where he starts, but I don't see too much potential there. You could throw him in a couple lines, I think, but I don't really see much. I mean, if you're going to play him, then you're playing guys, you know, at the front that were really expensive. You know, you're playing Ryan Blaney, playing Martin Truex. Basically, if you have to go down there, he's not the worst play, but I don't love him.
All right, so that once again, that is the end of the stream, but you can still watch. If you just came in now and you're like, crap, who was their favorite cash play or GBP play for the top tier, mid tier range, or anything we did at the beginning? This is replayable. Just watch it. So as soon as it ends, I think YouTube typically takes like 5 minutes to process a stream and turns it into a VOD, a video on demand that you can watch afterwards. So give it a couple minutes if it needs that, and then you have 3 hours roughly. I believe they said a 3:18 p.m. Eastern time lock time here for this O'Reilly Auto Parts 253. If you have any questions after the stream is over with, please hop on our channel. We have premium channels just for the paid NASCAR subs. We also have a free NASCAR channel. If you have any generic questions, these guys would be more than willing and happy to answer them. But good luck today, guys. If you are winning with the content dropped, whether it's the content drop that you gathered from the stream or content from the free article on site or any of the premium stuff, throw those screenshots up on Twitter and tag the home account at DFS_karma. We'd love to see our screenshots. If you are curious about joining DFS Karma and you're not sure, if we're a winning community or not, go to the Twitter handle, DFS Karma Wins. There's no spaces, so it's just twitter.com/DFS Karma Wins or at DFS Karma Wins. We have over 10,000 winning screenshots from the community over the last couple months. So check those out, and then go to dfskarma.com/shop. Sign up for either MVP or NASCAR if you want the content for today. You got 3 hours to do it. 3 hours to rewatch the stream, and we'll catch you guys next week for the next race. See you guys.